The small human fleet floated quietly through the black expanse of uncharted space. The ships were modest, metallic, slightly worn and patched up in places, but they carried the indomitable spirit of humanity. Captain Elena Morris sat in the command chair of the lead ship, the Endeavour, tapping her fingers against the console. Her crew of engineers, pilots, and explorers were busy with routine checks, unaware of the unusual turn the day would take. "Coordinates are stable," said Lieutenant Chen, the young navigator, his voice calm but tinged with excitement. "We're entering the Zypharian sector. No signs of alien traffic yet." "Good," Elena replied, leaning back.
"Keep it steady.
"Remember, we're here to explore, not start intergalactic wars." She smiled at the irony of saying that in empty space. But the universe had a way of surprising humans. Humans had always been explorers. Even when the stars seemed impossibly far away, they ventured boldly, often clumsily, but always with curiosity and courage. This fleet wasn't much by galactic standards, 3 medium-sized ships and a small scout vessel, but it carried more heart than the largest battleships of many alien civilizations. The Endeavour hummed softly as it moved through the dark void. Elena stared at the star map, which glowed pale blue on the screen. Suddenly, the scanner beeped sharply. "Captain," Chen's voice cracked in surprise. I'm not sure what this is. It's huge and fast. Not on any map." Elena leaned forward. The screen displayed an enormous vessel, far larger than anything humanity had built. Its hull gleamed with reflective metal, and strange markings ran along its sides. It was clearly artificial, but its design was alien. Sharp edges, perfectly symmetrical patterns, and a sense of order that humans rarely achieved. Chen gulped. "It's heading straight for us." "Steady," Elena said, keeping her voice calm. "Prepare for contact, but remember, we're explorers. Let's not panic." The human ships were tiny dots against the colossal alien vessel, which now began to emit a soft, pulsating glow. The scanners tried to analyze it, but the readings were confusing, almost like the ship was operating on principles humans had never seen. "Captain," Chen said, eyebrows knitted. "They're scanning us, all of us. Every ship," Elena frowned. "Then let's show them we're harmless." She hit a few buttons and the human ship sent a standard greeting signal. "We come in peace. Explorers of the Sol system." What happened next was unexpected. Instead of responding, the alien vessel moved closer, almost as if curious or maybe irritated. The human crew exchanged nervous glances. Maybe they're hostile," whispered Ensign Diaz, the youngest engineer. "Let's not assume the worst," Elena replied, though her stomach twisted. "They might just be curious." The Endeavour's communications console buzzed and a new signal came in. The alien language was a complex mixture of tones and light pulses. Chen tried to decode it. I think they want us to follow them. They're inviting us or demanding?" Elena exhaled sharply. "Follow them, then. But stay alert. No funny business." And so, the human fleet followed the massive alien ship into a region of space that shimmered with thousands of stars, nebulae, and asteroid clusters. It was breathtaking. Beauty so vast that even the crew's nervousness could not hide their awe. Hours passed in tense silence. Then the humans noticed something odd. The alien ship was slowing down near a massive station that floated like a city in space. Its architecture was precise, almost mechanical. Tall spires reflected the light of distant stars, and countless smaller vessels moved around it with coordinated precision. This is a space city," muttered Chen. "It's enormous," Elena nodded slowly. "Yes. And I think we just stumbled into the heart of the Galactic Empire." The human ships were tiny compared to the sprawling alien station, but the aliens didn't seem immediately hostile. Instead, they sent small patrol ships to intercept and inspect. Elena ordered her pilots to keep formation, but to remain calm and polite. When the patrol ships arrived, the humans experienced something entirely unexpected. The aliens boarded the Endeavour expecting spies, thieves, or invaders. Instead, they found humans laughing. Captain Elena and her crew had been nervously joking among themselves to ease tension. One human engineer had accidentally dropped a wrench, which rolled across the deck, and another made a pun about space hazards. The humans didn't even notice the alien boarding team at first. The aliens froze. Their tall, rigid forms were unlike anything humans had seen before. Their eyes, or whatever they used to perceive, glowed faintly. They were silent, and it was unnerving. Hello?" said Ensign Diaz, finally noticing the aliens. "We, welcome you?" One of the aliens extended a limb, pointing to a control panel. Chen, thinking it was a challenge, jokingly pressed a few buttons, causing the ship's internal lights to blink in random colors. The humans laughed. The aliens seemed confused. Elena stepped forward, hands raised. "We mean no harm. We're explorers, just humans being humans." The aliens exchanged signals with each other. Their expressions, or what passed for expressions, were unreadable. For a long moment no one spoke. Then, something unexpected happened. One of the smaller aliens made a noise that sounded suspiciously like a human chuckle. The humans froze. Then slowly the crew realized they had made the aliens laugh. The tension in the room melted slightly. Elena could not help but grin. "Well," she said, "that's a start." For hours humans and aliens observed each other. The humans kept their humor, telling stories, asking questions, and performing small, harmless pranks on the ship. The aliens were stiff at first, but gradually they began to show signs of curiosity, even amusement. Lieutenant Chen whispered to Elena, "I don't know what's happening. They're not angry. They're watching us. And laughing, maybe." Elena smiled faintly. "It's what humans do best. We adapt, we improvise, and we find laughter even in strange places." By nightfall, though time in space was arbitrary, the humans were allowed to dock at the massive station. They were guided through enormous corridors and chambers, where every surface gleamed and every motion was precise. It felt like walking through a machine perfectly ordered and without error. The humans, however, couldn't resist exploring. They stumbled through hallways, accidentally pressing panels and commenting on how funny the alien architecture looked to them. The aliens, who had expected disciplined behavior, were baffled. They had never seen visitors so carefree. During a formal inspection, Ensign Diaz tripped over a low platform. Instead of apologizing, he made a dramatic bow. The humans laughed, and surprisingly, the aliens joined in. Awkwardly, but genuinely, Elena realized then that humans had entered the Galactic Empire not with weapons, not with authority, but with humor and fearlessness. And somehow, that was enough to survive the first contact. As the humans settled for the night, floating in their tiny ships within the enormous alien station, Elena gazed out at the stars. "This is only the beginning," she whispered. "We're in their world now, but we are humans, and we will leave our mark, one laugh at a time." The crew, exhausted but excited, nodded in agreement. They didn't know what awaited them next, whether chaos, diplomacy, or adventure, but one thing was certain. The universe had never met humans like them before. And somewhere, in the vast corridors of the Galactic Empire, the aliens whispered to each other in confusion, amusement, and perhaps a little admiration. The following morning, the human crew awoke to the hum of their ship docked inside the massive Galactic Empire station. Sunlight, or at least the closest approximation to a star, reflected through enormous observation windows. The humans had never seen anything like this, a space city that stretched for kilometers, full of alien ships moving with precise coordination and lights blinking in a symphony of colors. Captain Elena Morris rubbed her eyes and glanced at the console. "Okay," she said, voice calm but tinged with amusement. "We survived the first night without accidentally triggering an intergalactic incident. That's progress." Lieutenant Chen, still wide-eyed, checked the scanners again. "Captain, the aliens are observing us. Every movement, every conversation. I don't think they expected humans to act like humans," Elena smirked. "Well, that's the point. Let's keep showing them. They've never seen anything like us." The humans had learned a small but important fact. In the Galactic Empire, order and discipline were sacred. Every officer, every soldier, every patrol ship moved in a predictable pattern. Mistakes were rare and laughter even rarer. Humans, on the other hand, thrived on unpredictability. They laughed when they were nervous, told jokes when things got tense, and improvised when rules seemed too strict. Now, the humans were about to test the limits of that system. Their first task of the day was a formal inspection. Two tall, angular aliens, likely officers, appeared on the Endeavor's bridge. Their movements were sharp, precise, and stiff. One of them, clearly in charge, extended a limb that humans assumed was a greeting. Captain Elena stood tall and gave a small bow. "Greetings. We are humans from the Sol system, explorers and friends." The alien leader tilted its head, emitting a series of low-frequency tones. Lieutenant Chen tried to translate. "I think they want to see our compliance or obedience?" Elena raised an eyebrow. "Compliance? Sure, obedience. Not so much." The humans followed the protocol as best as they could, but naturally things did not go as planned. Ensign Diaz, who had a habit of over-explaining things, attempted to describe the human journey from Earth to this distant space. He included minor mistakes, exaggerated gestures, and even a joke about space traffic jams, which made the aliens tilt their heads in confusion. Then, while demonstrating how humans use tools, Diaz accidentally triggered a small burst of colored lights on the console. The lights flashed in an unusual pattern, and the alien officers froze. The humans, realizing their mistake, burst into laughter, and something astonishing happened. The aliens emitted a series of sounds that resembled laughter. The entire bridge was filled with a mixture of human and alien amusement. The officers tried to regain composure but failed. Elena smirked. "I think we just won the first round without even trying." After the inspection, the aliens escorted the humans to a communal area. The room was enormous, filled with tables, displays, and small devices the humans had never seen. Other alien officers moved gracefully around the room, observing the humans as if they were part of an experiment. Captain Elena decided to seize the moment. "All right, crew," she whispered. "Let's show them what humans are really like." The humans began their routine. Storytelling. They told tales of Earth's oceans, mountains, and cities. They described human inventions from bicycles to computers. They spoke of strange holidays and customs, laughing at themselves when explaining why humans celebrated them. The aliens, initially stiff, began to pay closer attention. Their glow dimmed and brightened in a pattern that humans guessed was similar to smiling. One human engineer, Sam, decided to add a demonstration. He pulled a small model spacecraft from a bag and began performing minor stunts in the air. It flipped, twirled, and zoomed in patterns that humans called acrobatics. The aliens were silent at first, then one leaned forward, its multifaceted eyes widening. Sam executed a small loop, and the alien mirrored the motion with a limb gesture that humans interpreted as applause. "Captain," Chen whispered, I think they're impressed. Or entertained." "Definitely entertained," Elena smiled. "Humans aren't just strong, fast, or clever. We surprise people. That's our advantage." Word of the humans' behavior spread quickly through the station. Soon other alien officers visited the Endeavor, curious to see these unusual creatures. Humans took this as an opportunity to learn about the Empire. They asked questions, often awkward or humorous, about alien technology, daily life, and military tactics. The aliens tried to respond seriously, but the humans' constant laughter, curiosity, and unexpected jokes made even the strictest officers pause. During one visit, a high-ranking alien asked Captain Elena about human leadership. Elena replied, "We lead by example. We care for our people and we trust each other. Sometimes we make mistakes, but we face them together." The alien paused, then made a low, resonant tone. Lieutenant Chen, translating, said, "I think that's their version of respect. Or shock, possibly both." Meanwhile, the human crew began exploring the station itself. They wandered through corridors, accidentally pressing panels, and commenting on alien technology in amusing ways. At one point, Diaz tripped over a low platform and made an exaggerated bow. The humans laughed, and the aliens, still observing, tried to replicate the gesture, awkwardly but sincerely. This behavior created a ripple effect. The Empire's officers, trained for absolute order, were confronted with chaos they could not control. The humans' unpredictable actions, humor, and fearlessness challenged their rigid thinking. For the first time, many officers questioned the idea that order alone equaled strength. Captain Elena realized that humans had stumbled upon an unintentional strategy. By being themselves, curious, humorous, and fearless, they were not only surviving but influencing a galactic power. Later, as the humans gathered in the communal area for a meal, the aliens brought food as part of a cultural exchange. Humans examined it curiously, poking and prodding the strange dishes. Some tried to eat it, grimacing at the unusual flavors. Others made jokes about alien snacks being harder to chew than their ship's metal floors. The aliens observed, apparently amused. Sam whispered to Elena, "Captain, do you think they understand humor the way we do?" Elena shrugged. "Not fully, but they understand the effect it has. And that's enough for now." As the day ended, the humans returned to their ship. They were exhausted but exhilarated. They had survived inspections, cultural misunderstandings, and a constant barrage of alien curiosity. Yet through it all, they had maintained their humanity, laughter, courage, and curiosity. Captain Elena looked at her crew. "This is only the start," she said. "We're in their territory, yes, but we're humans. We adapt, we learn, and we find joy even in strange places. That is what makes us strong." Lieutenant Chen nodded. "And apparently confusing an empire can be fun too." The humans laughed together. Outside the observation window, the massive Galactic Empire station loomed like a glittering fortress. Inside, humans had carved a small but unmistakable space for themselves, a place where laughter, curiosity, and ingenuity mattered more than size, weapons, or rigid rules. And somewhere in the Empire, the aliens whispered to one another, puzzled and intrigued. These humans were different. They were unpredictable, clever, and fearless. They did not behave like any other species the Empire had encountered. For the first time, some of the officers felt respect and perhaps even admiration for these tiny, audacious creatures from a distant blue planet. The humans did not know what challenges awaited them next. They did not know whether they would be welcomed, challenged, or tested further. But one thing was certain: they had made a mark not with force or threats, but with their spirit. And as the Endeavor's crew floated in their ship, exchanging stories and jokes, they realized that survival in the Galactic Empire did not have to be grim or terrifying. With courage, humor, and curiosity, humans could face anything, even an empire that spanned countless star systems. Captain Elena closed her eyes for a moment. "Tomorrow," she whispered, "we explore, we learn, and of course we laugh." The crew murmured in agreement, smiling at the thought. They had stumbled into a galaxy of rules, order, and discipline. But they had also discovered something more important: that being human, in all its unpredictable glory, was a force no empire could ignore. And in the distance, the Empire's officers continued their watch, equally baffled and amused by the small human ships that refused to be ordinary. The next morning, the Endeavor's crew woke to the soft hum of the station around them. Outside the observation windows, the Galactic Empire's fleet glimmered like a vast, perfectly organized constellation. Hundreds of ships moved in calculated formations, each one identical, precise, and disciplined. The humans watched in awe, and then inevitably found it hilarious. Lieutenant Chen nudged Captain Elena. "It's beautiful, but so uniform. Doesn't it ever get boring?" Elena smirked. "Boring? Not for humans. We see opportunity." And that was precisely what they intended to do. The humans had learned that the Empire valued order above all else. They had rules, rituals, and schedules that rarely changed. But humans thrived in unpredictability. If the Empire valued order, perhaps humans could show them how chaos, or at least controlled humor, could be a form of strength. Their first experiment began during the morning inspection. Officers from the Empire were scheduled to observe their ship's systems. Humans were required to present the engines, navigational controls, and life support systems in perfect order. The aliens expected precision. What they got was performance. Sam, the engineer, accidentally or intentionally overheated a panel, causing it to release harmless colored smoke. Diaz rolled across the floor, pretending to slip, narrowly missing a control lever. Crew members acted out exaggerated reactions, pointing and yelling mock warnings in human style. The aliens froze, blinking their luminescent eyes in confusion. Chen whispered to Elena. They don't know what to do," Elena smiled. "Exactly. Keep it up." The humans' antics continued. One of the smaller crew members, Tessa, started a mock game of tag around the bridge. Patrol officers from the Empire tried to intervene, but quickly found themselves entangled in a confusing, improvised dance that humans called fun. The humans laughed, shouted encouragement, and occasionally made exaggerated "help me" gestures, prompting the aliens to pause, tilt their heads, and try to follow along. Somewhere deep in the command center of the station, high-ranking officers were monitoring this. "Report," demanded a senior commander, voice crisp and precise. One of his subordinates hesitated. "Sir, it seems The humans are performing some kind of ritual or entertainment. It is confusing. The commander's antennae twitched. Confusing is not allowed. Order must prevail. But order was collapsing one chuckle at a time. The humans were showing that unpredictability, creativity, and laughter were not weaknesses, they were strengths. Later, the humans were taken to the station's central courtyard, a massive open space where formal ceremonies were held. Today, the Empire had scheduled a parade of smaller ships, a display of coordination and precision. Captain Elena had an idea. Let's see how they handle a little human improvisation. Sam and Diaz positioned a small drone above the courtyard. At Elena's signal, it whirled around, projecting holographic images of humans in humorous poses. Tessa and Chen climbed atop a low platform, performing mock salutations and exaggerated gestures. The humans called it making it fun. The Empire called it utterly baffling. Alien officers barked orders in rapid sequences, but the humans kept going. Every time an officer tried to restore order, a human would do something unpredictable, a dramatic bow, a funny face, or a sudden leap. The alien officers began to mirror the gestures hesitantly, their rigid forms twisting in awkward but genuine imitation. Captain Elena whispered, "Look at them, they're learning from us," without realizing it. By mid-afternoon, humans had inadvertently created the first chaos drill in the Empire's history. Officers who prided themselves on precision found themselves laughing or mimicking humans' actions. The humans were not fighting with weapons. They were winning through confidence, creativity, and unpredictability. In a private chamber later, one alien officer confided to another, "These humans, they do not follow our rules yet. They command attention." The other nodded slowly. "Perhaps unpredictability is a kind of power. We have underestimated them." Meanwhile, back on the Endeavor, Elena debriefed her crew. "This is what humans do best. We improvise, we adapt, and we make the universe notice us even in a place that values perfection above all else." Chen asked cautiously, "Captain, do you think we're making them respect us?" Elena smiled. "Respect? Maybe. But more importantly, we're making them think. That's far more dangerous than weapons. We are showing them that humans cannot be measured in the same way as other species." As evening fell in the station, the humans gathered in the communal area for a meal. The aliens had provided an assortment of unfamiliar foods. Humans poked, prodded, and tasted carefully, commenting loudly on textures, colors, and smells. Ensign Diaz held up a glowing, gelatinous cube. "I think it's food or decoration?" The humans laughed, attempting to eat it, grimacing as the taste surprised them. The aliens observed closely, clearly amused by the humans' reactions. Tessa decided to teach a small game to some of the curious officers. She showed them how to play a human hand game called rock, paper, scissors. At first, the aliens were confused, attempting dozens of gestures in rapid succession. Eventually, they got it, and to the humans' delight, the aliens began competing seriously. Laughter and playful competition filled the room. Captain Elena watched, satisfied. Humans had achieved what no weapons or diplomacy could. They had disrupted the Empire's expectations, without breaking a single rule of safety or courtesy. That night, as the humans returned to the Endeavor, Elena reflected on the day's events. Humans had stumbled into the Galactic Empire and by being themselves had turned rigid order into playful chaos. They had no idea how significant their actions were. To the Empire, they were a curiosity, a puzzle, a small ripple in a sea of control. To themselves, they were explorers, laughing, learning, and living as humans always did. Lieutenant Chen leaned back in his chair. "Captain, do you think they'll retaliate or try to stop us?" Elena shook her head. "No, not yet. They've never seen anything like us. That makes us unpredictable, and unpredictability is the human way." The crew laughed softly, sharing stories of the day's mishaps and triumphs. Even in the vastness of space, humanity's spirit was alive and strong. They did not have the largest fleet, the strongest weapons, or the most advanced technology, but they had something far more powerful: ingenuity, courage, and humor. And somewhere in the Empire, high-ranking officers debated long into their cycles. How could creatures so small, so unstructured, create such disruption? Their records noted it as an anomaly. a minor incident that should not have mattered. Yet officers whispered to one another, uncertain whether to scold or admire. These humans were different. For the humans, it was just another day of exploration. They didn't realize the ripple they had started, the subtle influence they were already exerting on one of the galaxy's greatest powers. They only knew that they were surviving, learning, and laughing, and that those three things in the universe could be stronger than any fleet or empire. Captain Elena closed her eyes for a moment, thinking of Earth, the sun, and the ocean she had left behind. Humans had always adapted, always survived, and always found a way to make the impossible seem normal. Here, in the heart of an alien empire, they were doing it again. The human crew slept soundly that night, dreaming of stars, laughter, and adventures yet to come. They had turned chaos into a weapon, unpredictability into influence, and humor into diplomacy. The Galactic Empire would never forget them, not yet. And as the stars twinkled outside their observation windows, the humans knew one thing with certainty. Wherever they went, they would leave a mark. And sometimes, that mark would be made with a laugh. The day began quietly aboard the Endeavour, though quiet was a relative term. Outside, the massive Galactic Empire station shimmered with activity. Ships moved in perfect synchronization, officers patrolled corridors with sharp precision, and the humans prepared for what the aliens called a formal diplomatic engagement. Captain Elena Morris leaned back in her chair, surveying her crew. "All right," she said. "Today we try diplomacy. But remember, human diplomacy isn't always about rules or speeches. It's about connection, curiosity, and sometimes laughter." Lieutenant Chen raised an eyebrow. "Connection? Through humor?" Elena grinned. "Exactly. If they expect formality, let's give them something they can't predict." The humans were escorted to a massive council chamber in the heart of the Empire Station. Its walls were polished to reflect the light of countless stars, and the ceiling was so high it seemed to vanish. Around a long table sat dozens of alien officers, their forms identical, their faces, or what humans assumed were faces, rigid and unreadable. A senior officer, taller than any human, gestured for the humans to speak first. Elena stepped forward, smiling warmly. "Greetings. We are humans from the Sol system. We explore, we learn, and we hope to share stories." The alien officers blinked, or the closest equivalent they had. Their chief translator emitted a low tone which Chen translated hesitantly. "Explain purpose in structured format." Elena tilted her head. "Structured? Sure. But humans sometimes find structure boring." With that, the humans did something entirely unexpected. Sam produced a small human instrument, a simple device that could create sound. He played a short melody, slightly out of tune, slightly messy, but full of energy. Tessa and Diaz performed a human-style dance, moving awkwardly, but with enthusiasm. The humans called it entertainment. The Empire called it chaos. The alien officers were silent for a long moment. Then, slowly, one of the smaller officers tilted a limb and made a sound that humans interpreted as laughter. Others followed. The rigid council chamber filled with an atmosphere that no human had expected: curiosity, amusement, and mild confusion. Captain Elena whispered to her crew, "Step 1, they're intrigued. Step 2, we build rapport. Step 3, who knows?" The day continued. The humans engaged in a series of exercises the Empire called cultural exchange. The humans treated them like games. One exercise involved demonstrating problem-solving skills. Instead of presenting a straightforward solution, the humans approached it creatively. They built small models, improvised stories, and included humor in their explanations. The aliens, trained for logic and precision, paused repeatedly, unsure how to react. At one point, Chen noticed an alien officer mimicking a human gesture, a small wave, slightly awkward but deliberate. "Captain," he said, eyes wide, "they're copying us." "That's a good sign, right?" Elena smiled. "Better than good. That's engagement. That's influence." The humans also discovered that aliens responded well to curiosity. Instead of asking technical questions in a formal tone, they asked unusual human-style questions. What is your favorite star? Have you ever been surprised by your own technology? Do you like music? The aliens struggled to answer. Their culture did not emphasize subjective experience. And yet the humans' questions prompted reflection. For the first time, some officers considered the value of creativity, enjoyment, and flexibility, concepts they had never prioritized. Meanwhile, Ensign Diaz attempted another form of human diplomacy, humor through storytelling. He recounted the tale of a human animal, a tiny creature called a squirrel, and its misadventures on Earth. The humans acted out the squirrel's antics, complete with sound effects and exaggerated expressions. The aliens watched, transfixed. By the end, even the most serious officers emitted tones that humans recognized as laughter or amusement. By afternoon, the council chamber was no longer a place of rigid formality. It had become a shared space of interaction, curiosity, and unexpected learning. Humans were not just visitors, they were teachers, showing the Empire that diplomacy could be personal, playful, and human. Captain Elena observed a senior officer, likely one of the highest ranks present, quietly mimicking a human gesture. She leaned toward Chen. Do you see that? That officer is learning from us and they don't even know it yet. Chen nodded. It's incredible. They're taking cues from humans, without realizing it. Elena smiled. That's exactly how humans influence the world. We lead by example, by curiosity, and sometimes by laughter. The day ended with the humans invited to join a meal in the chamber. Unlike the previous day's casual tasting, this was a formal dinner, with elaborate dishes and strict etiquette. Humans approached it with a combination of curiosity and humor. They poked, prodded, and attempted to sample everything, commenting loudly on textures, colors, and unusual flavors. At one point, Tessa held up a glowing dish. I think it's dessert or maybe a decoration. The aliens, expecting silence and formal compliance, blinked in surprise. One officer tilted its limb in what humans interpreted as approval. The meal became a game of discovery, laughter, and shared curiosity. Captain Elena reflected on the day. Humans had not used intimidation, force, or dominance. They had not demanded respect. Instead, they had used their most human traits, curiosity, creativity, and humor, to make a connection. They had turned formal diplomacy into a playful, engaging experience, showing the Empire that strength did not always come from power. It could come from character, adaptability, and ingenuity. That night, as the humans returned to the Endeavor, Elena addressed her crew. We've done something remarkable today. We've shown the Empire a new kind of diplomacy, human diplomacy, one that does not rely on fear or force, but on engagement, curiosity, and laughter. Chen smiled. So, they like us? Elena shook her head slightly. Not like friends yet. But they respect us. And respect opens doors, sometimes more than weapons ever could. Meanwhile, in the Empire Station, reports were being filed. Officers debated how to categorize these humans. They had been unpredictable, disruptive, and audacious, but also clever, resilient, and influential. Their methods were unlike anything the Empire had encountered. One high-ranking officer spoke quietly to another. These humans, they are not like other species. They are remarkable. They challenge our assumptions. The other nodded slowly. We must observe them closely. Perhaps there is value in their methods. Back on the Endeavor, the crew celebrated quietly. They shared stories, laughter, and small jokes about the day's events. Even in a galaxy that stretched endlessly and contained empires far older and larger than Earth, the humans felt at home in their uniqueness. Captain Elena closed her eyes for a moment, thinking of Earth. Humans survive, she whispered. We adapt, we learn, and we influence not through power alone, but through being ourselves. And in the heart of the Galactic Empire, we are doing just that. As the stars twinkled outside the observation windows, humans dreamed of tomorrow. They did not know what challenges awaited them, whether more tests, unexpected dangers, or further chaos. But one thing was certain. Wherever humans went, they would leave a mark, not with force, but with ingenuity, courage, and laughter. And somewhere, deep in the Empire's council chambers, the officers whispered to one another, bewildered and intrigued. Humans were unlike any species they had encountered. They were unpredictable, clever, and fearless. And slowly, the Empire realized that these tiny explorers from a distant blue planet might teach them something valuable, whether they wanted to or not. The Endeavor and its small fleet floated quietly within the massive Galactic Empire station, but there was a sense of anticipation in the air. Humans had spent days exploring, improvising, and connecting with the aliens in ways no one could have predicted. They had survived inspections of culture, and even the most formal ceremonies, all with laughter and ingenuity. Captain Elena Morris stood at the bridge, watching the stars outside the observation window. She could see the Empire's ships moving with their usual precision. Hundreds of vessels perfectly synchronized, yet somehow, through their chaos and humor, humans had left a mark. "Captain," Lieutenant Chen said softly, "do you think they understand, fully, what we've done?" Elena smiled. "Not fully, but they understand enough. Enough to remember us. Enough to respect us. That's what counts." Humans had learned much from the Empire, technology far beyond Earth's current understanding, strategies for organization, and advanced methods of resource management. But the Empire had also learned from humans, lessons about creativity, humor, and unpredictability. These were not weaknesses. They were strengths. The day of departure arrived. The humans had been invited to leave the station under escort, and the entire fleet had gathered in the station's vast docking bay. Officers from the Empire lined the walls, their forms rigid but their postures alert. The humans prepared to say goodbye, but in true human fashion it would not be quiet or formal. "Ready, crew?" Elena asked, a mischievous glint in her eyes. "Ready, Captain," Chen replied, grinning. The humans' final act began small. Diaz pressed a few buttons on the ship's console, causing harmless colored lights to cascade across the docking bay. Sam launched a small drone, projecting holograms of humans performing exaggerated dances, jumps, and humorous gestures. Tessa added music, a cheerful, clumsy melody that echoed off the massive metal walls. The alien officers froze at first. Then slowly, some tilted their limbs in imitation. Others emitted the low tones humans recognized as laughter. The humans were leaving, yet they ensured their presence would be unforgettable. Captain Elena stepped forward and addressed the gathered officers. "We came to explore, to learn, and to share a little of ourselves. We hope we have left you curious, amused, and perhaps inspired." The senior officer, the same one who had first observed them days ago, tilted a limb slowly, emitting a resonant tone. Chen translated, "Your presence is memorable. You are unpredictable, clever, and bold. You have shown a new way to face the universe." Elena smiled warmly. "Thank you. That is exactly what humans do." The humans boarded their ships, engines humming softly. One by one, they undocked from the massive station. As the fleet moved toward the open expanse of space, they performed one final stunt. A coordinated flyby that formed a simple human symbol of greeting and goodwill. The aliens watched in awe, their rigid forms showing hints of admiration and amusement. As the human fleet departed, laughter echoed across the docking bay, strangely amplified by the station's architecture. It was a sound the aliens had never heard, joyful, bold, and entirely human. They could not replicate it. They did not fully understand it, but they felt its power. Lieutenant Chen turned to Elena, eyes wide. "Captain, did we just leave them impressed?" Elena laughed softly. "Impressed, perhaps. Confused, definitely. And maybe inspired. That's the best any human can hope for." The human ships left the station and emerged into open space. The stars stretched endlessly before them, as if welcoming them back to the void that had once seemed so empty. The crew was silent for a moment, reflecting on the days spent within the Empire's heart. Then Diaz broke the silence. "Captain, that was amazing. I didn't think we'd actually make them laugh and follow along." Elena chuckled. "That's humans for you. We may be small, but we're persistent. We improvise, we adapt, and most importantly, we never stop being ourselves. As the Endeavor led the fleet through the stars, the humans noticed something extraordinary. Even as they moved further from the station, small patrols of the Empire's ships followed. Not aggressively, but in observation. The aliens wanted to remember, to understand, to learn. Humans had left a mark that would ripple through the Empire long after the explorers were gone. On the bridge of the Endeavor, Elena addressed her crew one last time before leaving the Empire's controlled space. "Today we proved something important," she said. "Humans are not defined by size, strength, or technology alone. We are defined by our spirit, our curiosity, and our courage. Even in a galaxy that values strict order, we can shine, through ingenuity, humor, and laughter." The crew nodded, feeling a quiet pride. They had come as explorers, but they were leaving as something more. They had become symbols of what humanity could achieve when it dared to be itself. Lieutenant Chen added, "Captain, do you think they'll talk about us? Spread stories?" Elena smiled. "They already are, and it will grow. Other fleets, other officers, they will hear of humans who laughed at an empire and survived. And they will wonder, how do they do it?" As the stars stretched endlessly before them, the humans shared stories, jokes, and reflections on their adventure. Each laugh, each gesture reinforced what they had always known. Humanity's strength was not just in its technology or skill, but in its creativity, resilience, and ability to connect, even with the most rigid of civilizations. Somewhere deep within the Empire, officers debated and recorded their observations. Humans were unpredictable, clever, and bold. Their methods were unconventional, but they worked. They had survived and influenced a civilization that spanned countless worlds. And though the Empire could not fully understand them, it respected them, remembered them, and perhaps, in some small way, had been changed by them. The humans did not know the full impact of their visit. They did not see the ripple effects spreading through the Empire, the subtle influence of their laughter, curiosity, and courage. But they did not need to. They were explorers, adventurers, and humans, and that alone was enough. As the fleet moved further into the uncharted galaxy, Elena looked out at the stars and whispered, "We came as explorers, we leave as humans, and we've made the universe notice." Lieutenant Chen leaned back, smiling, and all it took was curiosity, courage, and a little laughter. Elena laughed softly, feeling the weight of their adventure lift. "Exactly, and we'll continue to explore, learn, and leave our mark wherever we go. The universe is vast, but humans are unstoppable." The Endeavor led the fleet into the infinite expanse of stars, leaving the Galactic Empire behind, but carrying with them something far more important than any material discovery: the proof that humanity's ingenuity, resilience, and humor could influence even the mightiest civilization. And somewhere, in the heart of the Empire, the officers whispered to one another, puzzled, amused, and strangely inspired, "These humans, they are remarkable. They do not fight as we do, yet they leave a mark that cannot be ignored." As the humans sailed into the cosmos, the legend of their laughter, bravery, and cleverness began to spread across fleets, across stations, and across worlds. They had stumbled into the Galactic Empire and emerged not only unscathed, but celebrated in whispers, laughter, and admiration. And for the humans, the adventure had only just begun. The stars awaited, endless and full of possibilities. The universe would remember them, not for their size, their strength, or their technology, but for their spirit, their courage, and their laughter, because that is what it truly means to be human.